Voilà donc le début de notre tout premier débat.
So this is the beginning of our first roundtable discussion. Here are the participants in the discussion. Have a seat, please.
Ici, here. Je vais vous les présenter
So I'm
rapidement.
going to introduce them briefly. I explained earlier that we're going to discuss this topic. So we're going to begin by looking at the imperatives for our cities in France and the rest of the world in order to deal with climate change. So first, we have Felix Santi, who has come from far away from the Amazonian forest, who is the president of the Kichwa People from Sarayaku. And then with us, we have a woman who's a mayor of a major city, Akel, who is the mayor of the city of Barcelona. We're delighted to have you with us. And from New Orleans, represented by its mayor, Mitch Landrieu. Welcome. And finally, the mayor of Amman, the capital of Jordan. I'd like to thank you for being with us. So, the first question for you, Mitch Landrieu, you're the mayor of New Orleans, and we're going to discuss water management. We know the danger due to climate change with the risk of flooding and heavy weather. This is something you're familiar with. What have you done to deal with these risks? What have you done? Repeating the question in English.
Do you hear the translation? No, you don't hear the translation. So, we talk about water and the flood, yes. I just want to know what you did in your town, in your town, just to manage water and to fight against the main risk of floods.
Well, I thank you for that, and of course to Mayor Hidalgo and to Mayor Bloomberg and all gathered. I'm here representing the City of New Orleans and also the United States Conference of Mayors, so I'm thankful to be with you. Notwithstanding the catastrophic impact that Hurricane Katrina had on the City of New Orleans, we were underwater 17 feet of water. As you know, we're surrounded by water. And one of the things we have begun to do in response to the continuing existential threat, as the sea levels rise and our coast deteriorates, if we don't do anything differently, the City of New Orleans is unlikely to exist 100 years from now. And so we began a very robust resiliency strategy in partnership with 100 resilient cities to build a levee system, to also begin to reconstruct the city in a much, much stronger way, to begin to work with water rather than against it, to also begin on the climate change perspective of change the way we light the city, change the way we conduct our transportation, change the way we pick up garbage, and otherwise try to reduce the risk of the damage that we know is going to come our way if we don't act on the events that we're speaking about today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Landrieu. Juste avant de poursuivre ce débat, nous allons écouter.
We are going to listen to questions raised by citizens on this topic. So we'll listen to the questions first, and then we'll continue our discussion with the mayors who are with us. To know what steps you're doing in order to deal with the ice caps that are melting and how that affects the city of Rio de Janeiro. I think water and air quality are important. What are you planning to do about that?
In which world will live our children? Do they have to pay for good water? Can they breathe?
Voilà quelques questions qui se posent.
So I'm going to turn to Akel. You're the mayor of Barcelona. You understand French, so thank you very much for speaking with us in French. So what have you done, or what are you planning to do in your city, in Barcelona, in order to establish new functions and features related to environmental protection? Is it important to create new departments? Do you have to create new departments to deal with this?
Merci beaucoup. Sí, muchas gracias. Bueno, en Barcelona hay una cosa que tenemos muy clara, y es que si no queremos que el clima cambie, tenemos que cambiar nosotras. Tenemos que cambiar las personas, los países y las ciudades, ¿no? La cuestión del clima no es un tema aparte que se pueda tratar de forma sectorial. Es un problema de modelo estructural, es un problema de modelo económico también, y eso hay que poder abordarlo. Y es un problema también de hábitos de consumo. Entonces hay que ser valientes, decididamente, y abordar la cuestión del modelo. Y para eso, una de las aportaciones que me parece importante de Barcelona es que hemos hecho un proceso muy amplio a nivel de ciudad, muy participativo desde abajo, contando con la aportación de más de 800 organizaciones ciudadanas sociales.
More than 800 associations have been participating in this process so as to have a real commitment in favor of the climate. And it's not just in Barcelona, but all the communities and all the citizens are participating. And the key question is that everybody should pitch in. Public transportation, the commitment to reduce emissions by 40% before 2030, and make sure that every citizen has plus 1 square meter of green land. And of course, it is very important also to have renewable energy, green energy, and this is what we want to have. But of course, we cannot be satisfied with just that. We have to take steps, we have to promote new measures, and I think that more women should be involved in politics, and this is something that the cities should be able to do. And since we are working with local citizens, we have to deal with people, the climate, and all this has to be at the heart of our policy, and we need women to do that. So this is a very important question. We're going to turn to Felix Santi. He comes from the rainforest, and he is a member of the Sarayaku nation, and you have very specific problems at home. You have to protect the forest. What are you planning to do in order to protect your environment and nature? Well, first of all, I would like to thank Anne Hidalgo and Michael Bloomberg and all the mayors who are present here, who have invited us and who are listening to us now. And the native peoples and the environment are particularly closely linked, and this is extremely important to us. And we have just heard that children are appealing to us. They have expectations vis-a-vis us, and this is extremely important. The First Nation in Ecuador, we drew up management plans dealing with existing resources because the forest is so important there, and the Sarayaku combat is in favor of everyone, in fact. And this is why we are working towards our own vision based on the living forest. It's a philosophy whereby you have to respect Mother Nature, because the life of every single being springs from Mother Nature, and Mother Nature will guarantee the survival of future generations, and that is our source of hope, and that's why we are here. This is an extremely important event because at long last, governments, heads of state are making decisions in favor of us, and we want to make sure that they are really heeding this advice and have future generations, Pachamama, motherland, to survive. I'm going to turn to you now. You are a mayor of Amman, Akel Biltaji, Amman in Jordan. And do you think that your fellow countrymen, the inhabitants of your country, are aware of the ecological risks, especially in a large city like Amman?
Thank you very much. And we are also aware of a new wave that comes along with the heat waves and the cold waves and the storms It's called immigration. It's as His Majesty King Abdullah II rephrased Arnold Toynbee's definition of history as geography in motion. He redefined that. He said it's demographies in motion nowadays. It's people. And along with that comes a lot. It's in adaptability, it's in behavioral, it's this paradigm change, and I think the Lady Mayor of Barcelona touched upon that when she said it's something that we have to do. We have to change ourselves. We have to adapt to all this. Now in my country, and we pray. We go out to the desert and we go out to the mountain tips and pray that God gives us rain. We get an average of 400 millimeters a year in the good years. And on November 5th, I was blessed with 50 millimeters of rain in about 25 minutes. So the city flooded, and so I think they stopped praying now. But just to show you that this is happening, the next date was in Riyadh, the following date was in Jeddah, then it moved into Qatar, then moved down to Oman and back into Alexandria and Beirut and an Israeli city south of Tel Aviv, where it also drowned. So the weather is not misbehaving. Nature is not misbehaving. Nature is in a verse in the Quran, and the Quran that the moderate, the true Islam, and not the Islam of the terror that some are carrying. It says we have created everything in the equilibrium. So that means if something is on a plus, there's something on the minus. We as human beings have to understand that. So it is, again, I will talk about the human capital, the social capital, a word I liked it came around in this conference. It came around also how we should behave about it.
Thank you very much, Akel Biltaji. Thank you. Peut-être brièvement avant de passer
Perhaps very briefly, before moving on to another subject and to pursue our debate, could you tell us what you're expecting from COP21, Mitch Landrieu? Because all the leaders of the world are in Paris.
It's important to have this sort of meeting, this annual meeting.
Well, I would, first of all, we expect a lot,
Yes.
is the short answer. But secondly, I would say that as mayors, we are particularly aware of the fact that we are the ones who have to make things happen. When you speak about picking up garbage a different way or creating a new transit system or changing the light system, we're the ones that actually have to make it happen. So I think one of the things that we expect is that whatever it is that they agree to, we have the ability to do the job that they're going to be asking us to do, because we are, in some instances, the tip of the spear. But I think it also is worth saying that it's very powerful to have 1,000 mayors who represent all of the people really at the lowest level of government, and sending a very clear message to our world leaders that it really matters, because there are still climate skeptics. And I think it's important for us to stand united to give them the political will, if you must, to do the things that are necessary, as Mr. DiCaprio said so earlier, because in a very real way, in my city and many other cities, it is very much an existential threat, meaning that if we don't do things that change what we're doing now, we may very well cease to exist, and time is running out. I have no doubt that we can do it. I do believe it is about willpower, and it's about being smart, and it's about new technology, and then, of course, finally, it's about mayors and the people who elect mayors preparing themselves to be ready and strong for things that come their way, because Mother Nature will have her way. And becoming strong, becoming resilient, building well, building smart, being prepared are really the order of the day, because as the mayor said, in one instance he said Mayor Garcetti said he needed water. This mayor said for a moment he had too much. Water can be life-giving, and it can be life-taking. Being prepared for it, knowing how to deal with it so that you can reduce your risk, is also an important strategy to deal with climate change.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Mitch Landrieu, votre point de vue, your point of view at the Colau.
What about your point of view? What are you expecting from this meeting? Do you think it is really going to bear fruit? I expect a great deal from it. Not only that I expect a great deal from it, I demand a great deal as mayor of Barcelona, as a citizen of the earth, of the planet. I want everyone to act. I don't want just words. I don't want declarations. This is urgent. We cannot wait. And it is extremely important to point out as well that all those who contribute to pollution, all those who emit greenhouse gases, well, these are industrialized countries, ourselves. And the people who are suffering from it, who bear the brunt of all this, are the countries that have not contributed to this. They are developing countries, but now water, drought, flood will not pick and choose. It concerns every one of us, every single one of us. And it's not just cities, it's also states. And we have to make changes. The changes will not be easy. We have to change our lifestyle. We have to change our economies. And not just one or two people, but all of us have to pitch in together, and we need true political will to do so. So what about the meaning of your presence here? Do you think it is very important for you to bear witness to the situation here in Paris at COP21? For us, as First Nation, I have to say that we are directly influenced by this. Climate change for us is absolutely key. And it wasn't easy to come all the way to Paris, but we wanted to be present because we wanted to give you our views. And as the mayor of Barcelona has just pointed out, now is the time to act. We cannot wait any longer. We have to be conscious of this in our hearts, in our minds, and we have to know that we must move ahead and change technology, use technology, change the economy, and we all have to contribute to this. Everybody has to help. Everybody has to contribute in order to face up to climate change. What about you, Akel Biltaji? How do you see this? Seeing all the heads of state from the entire planet here.
Has led us into in unison, not in singing only, but also shouting. And our voices and voice is heard. Governments must understand that the local governments cannot do it alone by themselves. So there should be that link. Another thing is, I'm going back committed in a number of ways. I have seen the world gather in Paris in solidarity against terror, as my country is, and now to fight a change of weather and the impact. Now the emission, we can all do something about it right away. So we have to go and apply things that I have learned from my other fellow mayors. So the commitment to go back for a sustainable, resilient, and also work for a prosperous society.